Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us on another episode of Property Doctor. We have too many problems facing us in the world today and in Nigeria in particular. It will be sad, so sad to keep adding building collapse to these problems. What can cause the collapse of a building or a structure or just frames? We keep talking about this. And it's like we're not getting it right, but I believe we'll get it right someday. Thanks once again for joining us on this episode of Property Doctor. This show brings to property owners and property users the easiest remedies to beautify your homes, to maintain your homes, to manage your homes, to help you save lives, save time, save money, and we bring tips, ideas, creativity in construction to the professionals. My name is Fumi Amunega Ajayi, also known as your Property Doctor.
I'm coming. If you hand over to government to maintain, they budget the money and share it.
To live in that particular place that the house is. So it's supposed government will be compensate them so that and pay them and relocate them to where they are going and build another house for them.
Careful engineering and management to meet human needs. You can connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube at Property Doctor NG, and on Twitter at Property Doc NG. We have witnessed different buildings collapsed in the past. You know, we read it in the news. We had ideas, and some of them are so painful. Even a fence collapsed. I understand that the fence that collapsed killed people. I don't know how far that is true, but come to think of it, even a fence. But what can cause the collapse of this fence? You can leave a comment below if you think you have an idea why that fence collapsed. Buildings can collapse because of external factors, maybe impact, maybe accidental impact, natural disasters, maybe the type of soil was not properly adhered to, the type of foundation, the materials, the workmanship, so many things. We have been concerned and we have been talking about it severally about the building collapse. And now we are praying that this will stop. But while we pray, we need to do the needful. We need to do something. Everyone has a role to play. If you see something wrong, please say it and correct it. Some people may not know what is wrong. And as the owner of the building, please visit your site to see what is going on wrong. If you can't assign someone to go to the site for you, tell them to give you a video call so you can have an idea. Just have an idea, see something that is going wrong, do something. When you go to site as the owner of the building, you're going there to inspect the building, not just to feel good about the house you're building, but other things, primarily to inspect the work and not to find faults, but to prevent mistakes. It is the owner of the building that will be losing money and we have the impact the most if there's a collapse of the building. Please, as the owner of the building, do the right thing and don't cut corners. Last week, a four-story building collapsed during construction in Uyo, the capital of Akwa Ibom State. This is very sad. It was gathered that the building, which was meant to be a six-story building, collapsed while it was at the fourth floor of its construction. Do you know what that means? You know, loss of lives, money, time wasted. I got some calls. People were asking, why do you think that building collapsed? And I feel I should talk about it in a way that people will understand and get some facts about the components of this building production and why the building failed and collapsed. Where can the failure occur? What can cause this failure? You see, failure can start from any part of the building production. I mean, from the soil stage, the design stage, the workmanship, the poor quality. So many things can cause a building to fail. Building production processes like foundation, like the structural work, the elemental work, they are all important. And we have to do the right thing. Right from the foundation, at the slab level, the columns, that is the structural elements, or any other thing that can affect the building, we need to take every step seriously. The materials can also play a big role. The use of the material, how the material is used, when the material is used, it is important. Failure at the slab stage is very painful. Some buildings collapse at the slab production stage. So why will the slab fail? So many reasons. So when you look at a building and you say the building has collapsed from the foundation, there are so many problems that can occur at the foundation. The type of foundation, the type of materials used at the foundation. You need to check whether the soil has some components that can affect the materials you're using for construction. They know how to use the materials, like the cement you want to use, the concrete you want to use. You need to know whether there's sulfur. You need to know all those chemicals in the soil. What kind of salt is in the soil? You need to know if that place was a refuse dump before, if it can withstand the pressure. You need to understand the soil. Go for a soil test. There are practitioners, there are people that do this test. They can give you reports on the test of the soil, and they will advise you on the kind of foundation to be done there. You need a structural engineer. It's very important. You can't cut corners. If a building fails at the foundation, it is very, very sad. If there's a failure in foundation, what can the righteous do? Any other person in the building will definitely suffer. You may not see the failure immediately occurs at the foundation, but as time goes on, you will see it. Before the building gets to a particular level or a particular stage, you will see it. What kind of reinforcement was used at the foundation? What kind of work was done at the foundation? Sometimes some buildings don't fail immediately, but you will see it as time goes on. Then you start seeing settlement, and you can actually correct this. If you find out that the foundation is poor, you can get some people to do underpinning. There are some things that can be done for you at the foundation to correct it so that it doesn't fail. Now let's look at the failure at the slab stage. When we talk about failure at the slab stage, that means you have gone off from the foundation level and you are going up. Maybe you have done the columns and you are doing the first floor or the second floor, and you find out that the building failed. Some collapse at the slab production stage will be because of the formwork that was used. Maybe the formwork used to prepare the shape of the concrete or the slab that is supposed to be done. The formwork is like a mold. It is mostly made of wood or steel. This is used to prepare the floor or the mold for the concrete to be the floor, the slab. This formwork can be supported to prevent failure or distortion of the shape of the concrete. Now, if the formwork is not properly supported, it will fail. We are talking about the formwork made of wood. You need props to support it. Some people use bamboo, you have iron props, you have steel props. The support of the formwork is very important. And if the support fails, then the building can collapse during construction because the formwork failed. If the formwork fails at critical areas, then the casting of the concrete slab can fail, leading to the collapse of the building during construction. Now let's look at the reinforcement. That is the iron bars used to form the reinforced concrete. We are expected to use high-yield steel bars, not cast. Don't cut corners. So how can this affect the slab and cause failure during construction? Maybe the reinforcement you are supposed to use is of a particular strength or yield or maybe size, and you don't use it. It can affect the build. It can cause failure. The size of the reinforcement is very important. So use the right size of the reinforcement, maybe Y12, 16, or Y20, 25, whatever has been recommended, please use it. Inadequate reinforcement, maybe they say use this number of reinforcement and use too little. It can affect the build. Then the span, the spacing of the reinforcement too is very important. Don't use cast iron. Use the proper iron. That is when the government needs to come in to inspect the iron that is used for casting. So you go to the market and check. Let's check and be sure that people who don't even have an idea of this reinforcement, the iron bars, don't buy the wrong iron. Now, if the column is not properly supported, it can buckle. And if it fails there, the slab also can fail. If the spanning, the spacing of the stereo is too wide and it's not done properly, it can make the slab to fail, because if the column buckles, it can affect the slab and it will fail. If the runners, the Y12 or the Y16 that is used for the floor, if it runs across and is not properly spaced, is not properly supported, it can fail. Also, if you're placing the iron directly on the formwork, it can also affect the building. Much later, then you see rust on the iron. It can fail. These things can make the iron to fail. And another thing is that if you've left the building for a while and you are going back to site, you have to be sure that the exposed reinforcements, they are not rusted. They can still withstand the pressure. You need to test and make sure that you are not building on a rust iron. You know, sometimes when we build, we take a breath and wait. Maybe you get some money, more money to do another element of work. You need to get the right reinforcement there, one, and make sure that the one you had on site is not bad, so that it will not fail during construction. You know, we talked about different types of reinforcement and the spanning and all that. Then the placing of the reinforcement, if you need to place 3 down in a beam and 3 up, connect properly. The methodology of arranging your reinforcement is very important. And make sure the span is not too wide, so that it can give the necessary support that is expected. I mentioned that the column should not fail. And if it cannot support the slab, it can buckle, it can fail. And it's very painful for the column to fail. If a column fails, the slab will drop. Let's look at the concrete work. The concrete is made of the cement, aggregates, coarse and fine aggregates. You need water, you need additives. And after the production of the concrete, the transportation of the concrete, the placing of the concrete, the curing of the concrete, all these things will affect the strength of the concrete, and it really matters. Now, let's look at the cement, for example. Sometimes some people get cement, they don't know whether it's expired, but cement actually expires. Maybe the quantity of cement is not enough. It can affect the concrete work. Or if the concrete was not properly cured, it can affect the concrete work. It can also, the placing of the concrete, the transportation of the concrete, all these things can affect the concrete work. So the materials used can affect the concrete. So if the cement is expired, or the reinforcement is not of high yield, or the sand that is being used, that is fine aggregate, if the sand has impurities, maybe the sand is fetched from areas that are not clean, some from gutters. Some people actually fetch sand from gutters. It can affect the concrete and the strength of the concrete. It will affect the cement. It will not bind properly, because the impurities will be affecting the binder, which is the cement. Now, if the cement is expired, it cannot bind, and it will affect it. Water is another thing that is used to make concrete. If the water is not clean, some people fetch water from rivers or just from anywhere just to mix the concrete. It will affect the strength of the concrete. The concrete mix may not be correct. We're talking about the ratio. If they say 1:3:6 for your slabs, or for your DPC 1:2:4, that's for your columns and your beams, design as stated this. Do exactly as they say. Sometimes you see them use more of sand and less of the coarse aggregate, and use less of cement. You cannot cut corners. It's always good to do a cube test to know whether the concrete is of the required strength. Another important thing is poor workmanship. The style of construction is very important. Please pay attention to workers on site. Get engineers or get workers on site or builders on site that are committed, dedicated, that have a passion for the job, not just for the money. Because if they don't pay attention to the work that is being done on site, it's going to affect the strength of the work on site. And the owner of the building should please not try to cut corners. Follow the rules so that we don't have buildings collapsing during construction. Let's try and do the right thing so that we'll get the right result. We will be saving lives, we'll be saving time, and we'll be saving money. It's not good for you to build and go back and rebuild again. The trauma is so much. You can leave a comment below on what else you think we should look out for during construction so that our buildings will not fail. If you made it this far with us, I say thank you. I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope to see you same time next week for another interesting episode of Property Doctor. Enjoy the rest of your day and let's build safe. Bye.